Hey everybody, Don Georgievich here with Job Interview Tools. Today I want to talk to you about your resume and more specifically, what you can leave off your resume. So if you want to know more about that, go ahead, hit the like button on this video, subscribe to my channel, and ring the bell, and we'll dive right in. So I get a question from a subscriber. He writes in, he says, "Hey Don, I was working for 4 months at a job. I got fired. It's kind of a black eye. Is it okay if I leave that job off my resume?" Absolutely yes. You got to remember, a resume is not a confession. You do not have to confess to everything, everywhere, every place that you have worked at or every experience that you have. That's not the point of a resume. And if we did that, we'd all have 10-page resumes. So you are allowed to pick and choose what you want to put on and what you want to leave off. And leaving things off your resume is not a lie. An omission of information is not a lie. Employers don't want to see everything that you've ever done. It makes their job really hard to go through your resume when you have so much information on it. You don't need that. So it is completely okay to leave off jobs. Now, the other question people ask me, they're like, well, is there any way that they can find out that I left off a job? Like, can they look it up in the state's computer or the federal government? No. That information doesn't exist. There's no database that you can go punch in. Maybe if you were to go to the taxation department, they would be able to look and see that you have some tax records from a certain company. But other than that, no, they're not going to be able to find out. Well, I'll take that back. I won't say they won't be able to find out. They won't be able to look it up. Let's say, for example, you work for a certain company and they might be able to contact a different company in that industry to find out if you ever worked there. But that's quite a stretch, and nobody's really going to go that far. So like I said, it's okay to leave off a job here and there, for 4 months, 5 months, whatever. Now, people say, so what do I do about the gap? If I leave that 4-month job off, 6-month, 8, whatever, that creates a gap in my resume. Well, that depends on how you list your dates on your resume. A clever way to hide those employment gaps of 4 months, 6 months, 8, 10, whatever, is to only use years on your resume. Instead of saying the month and the year of when you started and when you finished, just give the year, the starting year and the ending year. Now, that creates quite a lot of buffer zone. So, if you quit one job at the beginning of the year and then you started another job where you worked for 6 or 8 months and you got fired, quit, whatever, and then you started working somewhere else, that job is completely vanished. It's just no one will ever know by the way you arrange your dates on your resume. Just use years only instead of months and years, and poof, those jobs just disappear. Another thing you can do, let's say, for example, let's say maybe you work 2 years and you don't want to show that job on your resume for whatever reason. Maybe you were fired, or maybe it's just not relevant to what you're looking for. Let's say you were a real estate agent for a couple years and now you're going back into business consulting or information technology or programming. That real estate work that you had from 2 years isn't relevant to what an information technology company would be looking for, so they don't even want to see it. So in cases like that, you want to take those things off. Now, that might create a bit of a gap on your resume, but that just creates a conversation point in the interview. I really wouldn't worry about that too much. But another option for you, if you want to get rid of really big gaps, create what's called a functional resume. Functional resume has all of your experience that you talk about, and then it has the dates of your employment at the bottom of your resume. So at the beginning, which is the most important part of your resume, you talk about your experience, and you just talk about your experience in the context that it is. You don't say where you did it, when you did it, or anything else like that. And you put all the dates of your employment at the bottom of your resume. That gives you an opportunity to showcase your experience rather than when you acquired that experience. So you got to remember, resume It's not a confession, and you do not have to say everything that you've ever done. Here, and I'll give you another example, and this is a personal example from my own experience. You see, when I was working jobs, I was an independent contractor. So I would work, maybe a year for this company, and then, I would stop and I'd go work for a year here and a year there. So I had all these little teeny tiny jobs, and it made my resume look really messy. And it made it look like I was job hopping because I worked here, here, here. But, I was a consultant. I was an independent consultant, and I moved around to a whole bunch of different companies. So the way to get around that is to put all of those little jobs that you had under one umbrella. So you create your own consulting company. DG Enterprises, Don Georgievich Enterprises, whatever, ABC Consulting. And then you just list your experiences under there. And you don't have to list all the names of the places that you worked at. You just list the type of experience that you have and the work that you did. And that way, you could literally take 10 years of a hodgepodge of jobs from working here and working there and working all over the place and put them all under one umbrella and to show a consistent 10 years of employment. Simple enough? All right. So that's all I have for you today. Now, if you want to go a little bit farther, in your resume and in crafting a resume that employers want to read, that is just going to get their attention, I can't recommend the Resume Masterpiece enough. This is the same guide that I use to write my resume. This is the same guide that I use when I write resumes for clients. It follows the same approach. From start to finish, we start with the headline, we start with a job objective, we start with a professional summary, and then we go into work experience, and we go into writing accomplishments for all those work experience statements. And most people, when they write the resume, all of their work experience is done with job description style statements. I did this, I did that, and it just really falls flat. Well, inside the Resume Masterpiece, I'm going to show you how to write strong accomplishment statements that's just going to make your work kind of pop, kind of come alive, so that when someone reads it, they're like, wow, that's impressive. And we do that by using certain words, certain strong adjectives and adverbs that really lend and demonstrate just a lot of credibility to the type of work that you did. And I walk you through every step. Anybody can do it. I actually have a simple formula in here. And it walks you through creating a strong accomplishment statement for any type of work that you did. And a lot of people, they're like, well, Don, I don't have a lot of accomplishments. I hardly have any accomplishments. Well, we all have some accomplishments. We've all done some things. We just don't realize it. The Resume Masterpiece is going to kind of reach inside of you and pull out those accomplishments and show you that you have a lot of things to be proud of. And that's the thing. A lot of us forget that we did some really cool things in our last job. And we just don't know how to frame it, or we kind of discount it, like, oh, that really wasn't a big deal. That was easy. Nobody's going to be impressed with that. Well, they will. They will. And you are hiding yourself. And you're not letting people see the real you by masking all of the things that you've done or labeling all the things that you've done as insignificant, because they're not. You did them. They mean something to you. They're special. Resume Masterpiece is, like I said, it's going to reach inside of you and pull those out, give you a little bit of shake and say, hey, did some great things. Let's talk about them. Let's frame them. And let's get them out there so that people can get a feeling for the type of work that you did. All right, my friend, that's all I have for you today. Good luck on your next interview, and I will see you in the next video. Bye now.